Hello everyone, my name is Chase Harrison and I am going to do the 2-minute pitch and the lessons learned for this final video for our class. So without further ado, let's get started. In an increasingly globalized world, some of the most important soft skills that a person can have relate to intercultural competency and communication across language barriers. The COVID-19 pandemic has undoubtedly thrown a stick on the track for developing nations that, up until recently, have been seeing their middle classes grow. Here in Colombia, where I have been maintaining an address for the last 3 years, I have witnessed other entrepreneurs ignore a glaring void in the market. By creating an international cafe bar, I will provide a space where professionals will be able to practice the aforementioned soft skills. Many Colombians practice the English language throughout their childhood. However, outside of work, there are few places for them to practice or even just ask questions. My cafe bar, which acts as a cafe during the day and a bar during the night, will do exactly that, provide a space for professionals and students to practice their language skills in a more informal way. All of my staff will be fully bilingual and will also be complemented by a rotation of travelers who have English as a native language, as well as U.S. university students who would be interested in completing their internship abroad. The rationale here is that my cafe bar will provide services and products that Colombian people already buy at a premium, but that they will be willing to pay this premium due to the cultural immersion that will be available, which is otherwise limited in their community. The pandemic has made many things unpredictable, but most economists agree that the sectors that will win once things return to some level of normalcy will be hospitality and tourism. Our cafe bar will provide a location for you to relax, educate yourself, and mingle with friends and family. Not to mention connect with the world, which is something that we have all been missing for a long time. Thank you so much for listening. So I think probably like everybody else in this class, I have always been a little bit interested in how the inner workings of businesses are, what inspires somebody to start a business, and just in general, how it all works. Throughout my career, I've worked for giant corporations, but I've also worked for some smaller companies that have less than 10 or 15 employees. And it kind of always made me wonder, like we've learned in this class, that, a startup is not a smaller version of a large corporation. But I think prior to this class, my perspective was just that. I wasn't really able to see the difference between a small 10-employee company versus a giant company, perhaps maybe like Publix or Walmart. So the class has really helped open my eyes to the idea that there is a difference, and that what we're doing with a startup is we're trying to create a business model that can be replicatable. One of the first feedbacks that I received in this class was that, I was talking as if it's one location, one thing, and I should really come at it from the angle of this is a repeatable business, not just in one particular city or region, but something that can be replicated national or even internationally. So that's probably the first thing that comes to my mind when I think about the takeaway from this class. The other part that I've learned here is really getting to know your customers. When I first saw the class and I was looking at the syllabus, I'm kind of an eager person, so I went and I created a survey and I made everybody on my Facebook look at it, LinkedIn, my WhatsApp status, everything had this survey. And then after reading the book, or rather listening to the audio version of one of the assigned textbooks, I realized that I had completely gone about it the wrong way, where a lot of my questions were kind of misleading. Something that I had learned in the statistics class not to do is to create like a bias so that way you get more honest results, but yet somehow, even with me thinking of how I could not be biased, I still kind of had influenced the answers that I wanted, at least in that initial survey. So I've definitely learned how to make surveys for customers in a better way. No more, if this was the price, would you pay it? Like, that's essentially a pointless question. You're not giving them an option other than yes or no, and they're probably going to lean towards the answer they think you want them to answer. Another large takeaway from this class is just being aware of how much planning goes into everything before you even consider the idea of bringing your product or service to market. You've always heard these stories of people who go, oh, I took a chance and I threw my life savings at this idea, and what do you know, it worked. Or the other side where, oh, this entrepreneur had 5 businesses that failed before he or she was finally successful. And while that is still a potential, that's still a probability that you can do all of this research and you can do all of this preparation and still end up without a successful business, I think that all of those stories, and frankly, the podcasts that I listen to, don't really go in depth with maybe why that is. Whereas in this class, you kind of learn to definitely look at all the potential benefits, all the potential drawbacks, and really make sure that even though every startup is a hypothesis and a best guess, that you do make it the best possible guess. Not just, well, this is something that interests me and this is how I see the world, so somebody else has to enjoy it. No, you have to go about it for the customer. What you like and what you want don't really matter. Like, you should align your business with your expertise and your knowledge. That's a given. But you're not making a business for you to be the customer and the business owner. You're making the business for the customer, which does require some modification. And I'm a teacher, and that's something that I've been aware of, because there are ways that I would like to have a class, but that's not always the way my students would like to have a class. That's not their way of learning. And with this particular class, it clicked in my head. I'm like, oh yeah, why would I think that in business, but then acknowledge that that's not true in my working profession? So I've been able to merge parts of my life and parts of my awareness, my business awareness, better, because this class has provided a space for me to connect those dots, so to speak. And I would say the last thing that I'm going to mention, but definitely not the last thing I learned in this class, is that it is okay. It's acceptable to start, give it a run, and then if you realize while you're in the run that it's not going to plan, that it's okay to change the plan. It's okay to modify the business. There is no shame in that, because at the end of the day, you need to create revenue and eventually create a profit. So if you're just so stuck in your head that, no, this is the business and I just have to wait for the customer to find my product, no. Not necessarily all the time. It might take a while for a business to start off, but if it's been going for a while, and it's never really getting that launch, then you have a problem on your hands and you need to go back to the drawing board. Just like in the textbook example with the man who has the recycled bike store and thinks he's found this thing that everybody wants, when really he answered only a concern that he had. He didn't answer the concern that the market had. So even with all the research we do, and we think we know what the customer wants, we really won't be 100% certain until we start the business and begin to operate as an organization, as an enterprise. And in that time, if things aren't going smoothly or things aren't the way that you had planned them, change it, get it fixed. It's all right. Not a huge deal. You have to be constantly vigilant, more so in the beginning years, probably than any other time. Of course, you're going to always be vigilant of your business. So I'm trying to not put myself in any hypocritical moments or any paradoxes while I talk, which can be challenging because I'm a human. So yeah, that's, I think, my three largest takeaways from this class. Apart from the fact that I was able to look at other students' businesses and their ideas and watch their plans change. And I once had a teacher who told me it's better to learn from other people's mistakes than to learn from your own. And nobody made a mistake, obviously, but there is some kind of truth to that, where we should learn from how other people change and adapt. And so I've been really thankful for the opportunity to see other students with different ideas change and manipulate, tweak their plans and ideas. All right, so I guess I just want to close this out by saying thank you to everybody. I've learned so much from all of you and from watching your videos. I wish you all the best of success. And if you're ever in the area, let me know. I would love to grab a tinto with you at my cafe bar. All right, bye-bye.